Legion, and welcome to my channel. My name is Ludi, and today we'll be doing our EU4 1.30 starting moves guide for Holland. In this video we'll be going over the achievements, the estates and economy, diplomacy and war preparations, the independence war itself, as well as your early expansion post-independence, and your missions and ideas. Before we start this video, I'd really appreciate it if you left a like and commented, as well as don't forget to hit that subscribe button and leave the bell button on. If we can get this video to 600 likes, I'm gonna do a giveaway for a Paradox game, so let's get this started. Starting as Holland, you can do the Je maintiendrai achievement, which starting as a Dutch cultured nation, you have to form the Netherlands. This is not only for Holland, but any Dutch starting nations, including Utrecht, Gelre, and Brabant. When discussing our states, the first thing you want to do is summon the Diet and go for whichever agenda best suits you, followed by seizure of land, which is gonna get rid of the negative modifier that we have from the Crownlands. Then when it comes to the privileges that we give the nobility, we're going to give them right of council as well as supremacy over the crown. For the clergy, we're going to give the oversight by the clergy, and for the burghers, we'll give free enterprises, monopoly on textiles, and private trade fleets. We're going to give the monopoly on textiles simply because we want to get our mercantilism up. It's not much by one, but better than nothing, and especially since we are part of the English Channel node, we can get a much sizable chunk of it if we have higher mercantilism, and towards the 1500s, we want to achieve that degree of mercantilism. We're also giving out private trade fleets because we start off with 10 light ships. So we are going to tell our light ships to protect trade in the English Channel, which is going to give us 0.47 ducats extra. And we're going to sell our 3 cogs. Usually nations that accept our cogs are England, but it's not restricted to them. Selling them to England is not a bad choice, especially since most of the times you can get the English to support your independence if they have rivaled Burgundy. When checking out your trade map mode, we're going to leave everything the way it is. We're transferring trade from Champagne as well as Lubeck, and we have 12% of the channel trade node. We're going to increase the amount here considerably after we finish the War of Independence, but until then we're just going to leave everything the way it is. Holland's economy will have to revolve around the trade that it does, so we need to make sure that we get a sizable chunk of the trade node by owning most of the lowlands, especially the provinces that have a high amount of trade power. Holland starts out as a nation en appui with the Burgundians. So the first thing that we want to focus our attention on is getting independent. And how are we going to do this? It's simply with the help of the rivals of Burgundy. So go to their Diplo screen and see who rivaled them. Then go to the Ask for Independence diplomatic screen. And as you can see, England, Aragon, Austria is more than happy, with Denmark pretty much helping us as well if we improve relations with them. Now this is super RNG. 90% of the times you're going to have England rival the Burgundians, in which case you will definitely count on the English. Sometimes the French also rival the Burgundians, in which case you will be able to count on the French. I really would recommend, if you can get the French, that would be the best option. But even if you cannot get the French, you can also rely on the Austrians and the Aragonese, as well as the English, if those are your options. If you have no countries that would support your independence in your game, then you can either restart, or if you are quite sadistic, then you can just wait and improve relations with whichever rivals the Burgundians get. Sometimes they even rival Ottomans, and you can get independence supported by the Ottomans, but you would have to improve relations with them first, and that would take a few months or years before you can get your independence. If you get strong enough nations to support your independence, the Burgundians are actually going to give you your independence without having to go to war with them for it. But I recommend that you do go to war with them, simply because you want to take at least 1 or 2 provinces from Brabant, which will definitely help you out towards unifying the Netherlands and increasing your trade power in the English Channel. So in my situation here, I have 3 nations, and I am going to ask all 3 of these nations to support my independence, of course. Have to wait for 1 more day, and then we're going to ask the Aragonese as well. And last but not least, we're going to ask the English once we get our diplomat back. Now with 3 nations supporting our independence, the only thing left for us to do is recruit a mercenary company, and we're obviously going to go for the free company. Make sure you recruit them in Amsterdam, and also bring your own troops to Amsterdam. I also recommend hiring a good military advisor. If you can get a discipline or a morale of armies guy, that would be perfect. Also recommend, if you were not lucky enough as I was in this run to get any nation supporting your independence, that you send an insult to the Burgundians and make it a scornful insult, which is going to require you to have 5 prestige. In order to get that, simply give the privilege patronage of the arts to the burghers, which is going to give you 20 prestige. Don't forget to attach the mercenary army to your main army. And we are ready to go to war with them. Once you declare war, you're gonna have a 1 stability stab just boosted up so it's back to 0. And I recommend for the beginning part of the war, just wait it out in Amsterdam and wait for your allies to actually come and help you out before you attack yourself, the Burgundians. Also, don't forget to choose the Merchant Navy Naval Doctrine. This will definitely boost up your economy considerably, since together with the privilege that you gave the burghers, you now have 53% ship trade power propagation. When everybody else is occupied sieging down Burgundian lands, you should start sieging down the Brabantian lands yourself. And whenever you get a chance, take out small armies that the various PU or vassals of Burgundy have. Your armies together with your allies' armies should be considerably bigger than the Burgundian armies, so this war should go pretty smoothly. Just make sure you siege down the provinces and the lowlands and let your allies do all the heavy lifting. After your allies have done pretty much all the work, you should peace out the Burgundians, and I highly recommend taking the provinces of Antwerpen and Breda. Breda you are gonna need to form the Netherlands, and Antwerpen is a massive trade power province, so having these two provinces will increase your trade power in the Channel node. All of the other provinces to form the Netherlands you can get without having to go to war with the Burgundians. Also recommend taking all the cash that you can take from the Burgundians. Don't forget to ask them for independence, which costs 22%, and ask for war reparations. We're gonna peace them out, and booyah, we now have a independent in Holland. Don't forget to core these 2 new provinces, and now we can get some real rivals. You're not going to have too many options since you're not going to be a massive nation. Most of the times it's going to be the usual suspects, Friesland, Gelre, and Utrecht. I recommend just going for all 3 of them as your rivals, since you basically want to eat up all 3 of these nations in order to form the Netherlands. The only 2 provinces that we still need in order to form the Netherlands are Utrecht and Gelre. You also might not be able to hold on to all of your allies, since a lot of the times they rivaled each other. So if that is the case, you will have to choose between the best options. If you do manage to get the Austrians as your ally, prioritize that and improve relations if you need to, since you want to keep Austria on your side. Otherwise, they're going to start asking for unlawful territory whenever you get a new province that is not your core. After the independence war is over and you finalize coring your new provinces, you're going to be able to assert our sovereignty, which is the first mission that will grant you 100 military points and will unlock the next mission, which is available once you have 50% of Castile's naval strength. Now this ties in quite nicely with the Sea Beggars, which asks that you have 20 light ships and which grants in return a light ship combat ability and blockade efficiency plus 10% for 15 years. Enact both of these missions and make sure you set your navy, which should be only light ships, to protect trade in the English Channel. This will give you a profit of almost 2 ducats, and if you've taken both of these provinces, like I said you should be taking, then you should be able to build up to 24 ships. So I recommend building 23 light ships. Sometimes this is quite random, but it does happen quite often from what I've noticed. Flanders also gets their independence after your War of Independence, since Burgundy is considerably weaker, and if that happens, you should see that Flanders is not part of the HRE, thus taking the Flemish lands is going to be a lot less AE than taking the Dutch lands. So if this happens, then I really recommend prioritizing taking over all of the Flemish lands first, so get claims on Ghent and Bruges and take over Flanders before going into Gelre and Utrecht. Going back to your missions, once you get 50 naval tradition, you can enact the Admiralty colleges, which is going to give you a free admiral. Getting high income should be easy as well after the war. Having 3 forts will also quickly unlock the fixed garrisons modifier that gives you fort defense and garrison size for 20 years. I would keep this for later on whenever you're going to be at war with bigger nations, however, as it's going to be of much help. After you've united the lowlands, meaning pretty much after you've formed the Netherlands, you're going to get this path from your mission tree unlock, and eventually this is going to lead down to your colonial empire. It's going to focus on going for the Indonesian and the Malaccan trade areas, as well as discoveries of Australia, colonizations into South and North America, exploration missions, and establishment of various trade companies. By the time that your truce expires with the Flemish, you should be able to have low enough aggressive expansion to integrate the nation within yours, or at least to to vassalize them and later on integrate them. Depending on when you declared your independence war and when it ended, your truce should be over by the 1460s, and whenever it is, if Flanders is available, attack them. If they're not available, then simply go into Utrecht or Gelre depending on the situation. Also, when giving the first mana privilege, I recommend giving it to the clergy, as you want to get your admin power up as soon as possible. I was lucky enough to also have a +6 ruler, but this might not happen in your situation. If it doesn't, you should always focus on your admin points, seeing as your first idea should be an admin idea. Sometimes the Burgundians, if they're still around and the Burgundian inheritance has not triggered, will also attack Flanders to restore the PU. If that is the case, then make sure you take the Flemish lands before the Burgundians. Taking all 3 of Flanders' provinces would be too expensive AE wise, and you'd get a massive coalition still. So you have 2 options: either be less greedy and just take 2 provinces, or you could vassalize them, and if that is the case, you're gonna end up in a war against the Burgundians. But if you do vassalize them, you're not gonna have any coalition whatsoever. However, you will have to fight against an army that is 3 times your size and without any allies as well. You also have the option of waiting for Burgundy to peace them out, which will definitely happen. So if you really want to vassalize Flanders, I recommend just waiting for Burgundy to peace out. Or if you don't want to wait for that to happen, just take the provinces by the coastline and let them just have the province of Rizal. Make sure you also transfer trade power, get war reparations, and whatever money you can get from them. Remember guys, that getting Flanders is not a guarantee, simply because it doesn't always happen that Flanders gets independent. So if that is not the case in your game, then I recommend going for Utrecht or Gelre after you've got your AE lowered enough. It is also recommended building a lot of marketplaces in the Netherlands, especially in provinces that have very high trade power, such as Amsterdam, Den Haag, Antwerpen, and Bruges. Don't forget to also develop your trade centers and trade ports, and issue the protect trade edicts in all of your provinces. This will help you increase your trade power in the English Channel considerably. And when managing your trade fleet, check first off which of the trade nodes gives you more money when you assign a trade fleet there, and assign it to the one with the highest value. In my situation, it would be more profitable assigning it to the Lubeck trade node, but in your game it might stay better if you assign it to the English Channel, so do check every few months or years if you're not into min-maxing that much. When it comes to your ideas, why I mentioned to focus on your admin first and going for an economic idea is because we always want to play a toll Netherlands, not just for the RP value, but because it is definitely worth it. And if you do play a toll Netherlands, the first idea you should be going for is the economic idea, because of this sweet -20% dev cost, which together, if you do select your second idea set as the quantity ideas, the policy that you can get gives you another -10% dev cost, getting it up to -30% dev cost. And then if you set up the encourage development edict, that would be -40% dev cost, meaning that you can dev your provinces for around 20 to maximum 30 dev. This can stack up even further once the emperor gets the call for Reichsreform and it has passed. As your third idea set, however, I would highly recommend going for exploration, since your national mission tree focuses on you exploring a lot of the world and colonizing a lot of it. I don't recommend going for exploration as your first or second idea, simply because the trade range that you will have at the start will not be enough to start colonizing. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to leave a like and comment, as well as subscribe for more videos like these, and leave the bell button on. I would like to thank my patrons. If you'd like to become a patron, then check the link in the description. And until the next one, have a great day.